Hi, I come to you with a somewhat contemplative and non-judgmental, but definitely thoughtful spirit. And I thought I would, instead of writing a blog post, I would just shoot a video. Just seems like it's easier to do. Even though it's not necessarily easier to do to come up with the words on the top of my head. I just felt like it was necessary to do a video, also so that you could see my heart. I was sitting in my car just a moment ago, driving home from my job for the day. I was working with kids and pondering some of the events that happened, but also some of the events that have been happening for a couple years now. My husband said he came home the other day and had quite an intense discussion about abortion with some people at his work, and it's not a subject I tend to talk about that often. But I felt like today was a need for that, and not specifically abortion, but really about how we treat children. And I realized that even in myself, and when I was younger and before having children of my own, and some of the attitude that prevailed with kids. And the same applies for older people too. People treat older people that way, and you treat kids that way. For whatever reason, our society tends to focus on people that are of a certain age range, younger people or people that are middle-aged even, but in dramatic situations. So if you look at media or you look at some of the entertainment that is out, it's always something disconnected, but not a lot of attention, good attention given to the elderly, not a lot of good attention given to the youth. And so it made me think of the scripture that unless you receive the kingdom like a little child, you will no way enter in unless it is received like a child. And just kind of what that meant and what that means, and maybe if you're thinking about it or you thought about it, what does that mean to you? Like, I would love for you to comment below. What does that scripture mean to you, to receive the kingdom like a child and be able to enter it, versus if you don't, not being able to enter it? But I thought the first step of that is pretty prevalent in our culture, where in a culture, or in a society, I should say, where we don't value kids as much as we could. And I can't say should, because there's never a should that any of us meets, like a standard of should that any of us meets. But there is a possibility and there is a potential, and we don't give not kids the lead role. Now, I'm not talking about letting kids take the reign, but we don't give the credit for the potential and what we can instill in them. We don't make room for that. So it's easier to just kind of brush it to the side, or not think about it, or not make room for it, or talk about how exquisite that pie was that we had at Thanksgiving, versus, oh, what's little Johnny doing? How is he being built up and being exquisite, or what was that exquisite thing that he did the other day? Not to say we're not thinking about it either, because some of us are thinking about it, but the way that we guide our programs, that we live out our lives, that we walk in the store in a hurry trying to get something and get out, the attitude and that is reflected in that really has no place for kids. There's no kindness, there's no long suffering, there's no love in general. So when I translate that and I think of, oh, what does it mean to receive the kingdom like a child? As a child, you were looking for kindness, gentleness, love. You're not quite ready for the harsh realities that the adult world bring. Not ready for the sarcasm. You're not ready for the quips and the jokes. It's just not ready for it. And I'm guilty myself of doing that, or treating my oldest in particular like, oh, I can joke around with them or banter or do the same kind of thing that I do with my husband. But when you think of it from a child's perspective, it totally propels them into confusion. So now all of a sudden they don't understand, and because they don't understand, they're less than. Because they're less than, they can be treated a certain way, and that's not the desire that we have. If we really think about it, that's not really the desire we would have for kids if we were to think of it ourselves being in their shoes, or us as children, or for our own children. And so I just thought about that. I just encourage you to think about that for today. I hope it's not too heavy. I come to you quite emotional. It's something that's close to my heart, because when I see that it's just the last thing on the docket, we're kind of in the way, and the pressure that's associated. And if I'm feeling it as an adult taking care of children, I am sure the children are feeling it. It's a matter that's close to my heart. So every life is important. Every life that has the potential to be here and live here on this earth is valued and valuable. And that is my thought on that. Again, share your comments below if you have any on this subject. Again, not specifically abortion, but just things that are related to young people taking part and being valued. Thanks for listening.